So today we are graphing quadratics that are in factored form. So this right here, this is an example of a quadratic in factored form. And the reason why it's called factored form is because a factor is a number that's being multiplied by something. And that's what's going on here. We've got x minus 1 being multiplied by x plus 3. Okay? Now keep in mind that we know this is a quadratic, so it's going to be a parabola. And because we know the general shape of a parabola and that it's symmetrical, we can use that to our advantage when we're graphing. Okay? But we're going to find these four characteristics, these four features of our parabola, and then we're going to use those to graph them. Okay? Let's start with the x-intercepts. The x-intercepts are the place where the parabola crosses the x-axis, and that's when y is 0. All right? So, in order to find the x-intercepts from our equation, what we need is for each of the factors to equal 0. And that's going to tell us where the two x-intercepts are. For example, in this first factor, x minus 1, we want to know what value of x would that make that equal to 0. Okay? If I think of this as a little algebra equation and I add 1 to both sides, you can clearly see that x has to be 1. All right, so our x-intercept is 1, 0, right there. So we know the parabola is going to cross through right there. And if I want the other x-intercept, I'm going to make this other one 0. So in this case, this factor is x plus 3. I'm going to make x plus 3 equal to 0. So what value of x would make x plus 3 equal to 0? Well, if we subtract 3 on both sides, we see x is negative 3. So negative 3, 0 is our other x-intercept. So there we go. All right. Now, the next thing is the axis of symmetry. Because we know a parabola is perfectly symmetrical, and we know it's going to go through those 2 points, we know that the axis of symmetry is going to go right in the middle between them. So it's going to go right through here. All right, and what is the equation for this vertical line? Well, it's going through x is negative 1, so the equation for the axis of symmetry is x equals negative 1. It's a vertical line through negative 1 on the x-axis. All right, and notice it goes right in the middle of these two x-intercepts. And if you want to find the axis of symmetry mathematically, all you have to do is take your x-intercepts and find the average. Right? 1 plus negative 3 divided by 2. You're going to get negative 1 because that's right in the middle of your intercepts. Okay, so now the next thing we need to find is the vertex. Again, because we know the parabola is symmetrical, the vertex is the very tip of the parabola, either the bottom or the top. And because it's symmetrical, we know the vertex is going to be on this axis of symmetry somewhere. All right, so we know the x-coordinate of our vertex because this line is when x is negative 1. So we know the vertex is negative 1. What we don't know is how high up the vertex is going to be. Is it going to be up here? Is it going to be down here? We can figure that out though, okay? Because we know the x-coordinate of the vertex is negative 1. What we're trying to find is the y-coordinate. We can use our equation to find the y-coordinate. All right, because our equation says y equals this. So what we're going to do is take the x value we're using, negative 1, and put it into the equation, and that'll tell us the y-coordinate of our vertex. All right, so let me write that down here. Y equals, instead of x minus 1, it's going to be negative 1 minus 1, times, instead of x plus 3, we're going to do negative 1 plus 3. And whatever all this equals is going to be the y-coordinate. Negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. Negative 1 plus 3 is positive 2. So y is going to equal negative 4. We just found the y-coordinate of our vertex, negative 4. So the vertex is going to be at negative 1, negative 4, right there. All right. And the good thing about parabolas is they kind of follow a basic pattern. So we could actually fill in the rest of it based on this. But we can kind of see what this looks like right now. Now you can kind of see the general shape of this parabola. But there's one more thing I want to find, and that's the y-intercept. Okay, so for the y-intercept, it's always going to be on the y-axis. So the coordinates of the y-intercept, because it's on the y-axis, that's when x is 0. So we automatically know one number in the coordinate. All right, x is 0. What we don't know is how high up the y-intercept is going to be. And we know it's going to be in here somewhere. All right, but again, we can use our equation to find the y-coordinate of this point. All right, so what we're going to do is, because we know x is 0, we're going to put 0 in for x in this equation. All right, so y equals, instead of x minus 1, we're going to do 0 minus 1. Instead of x plus 3, we're going to do 0 plus 3. And whatever all this equals is going to be our y-coordinate. 0 minus 1 is negative 1. 0 plus 3 is 3. And negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. Guess what? We just found the y-coordinate of our y-intercept. 0, negative 3 is the point. Right there. Okay? And because it's symmetrical, if there's a point here, there's going to be a one on the other side as well. And now we can sketch our parabola. Now, when you start getting used to parabolas, you start recognizing patterns. And one of the patterns is when we go to the next point, it's up 1. And then the point after that is up 3. And the point after that is up 5. And the point after that is up 7. And you start kind of recognizing that point, those patterns, so you can sketch in the rest of it. And because it's symmetrical, I can just repeat those points on the other side of that axis of symmetry. All right, so there's our graph. All right, but let's do another one that's going to be a little bit harder, because notice in the factored form for this one, there was no number in front of the two factors. The second example is going to have a number there. All right, so let's pull that one out here. So for our second example, notice we've got our two factors, but this time we have a number in front of it, negative 2. Now I'll tell you that 2 is the vertical stretch. It's going to stretch out our parabola twice as tall as the other parabola we just did. But you see that negative sign? That's actually going to flip our parabola upside down. So it's going to be a little bit different than the other parabola we just did, because it's going to be stretched out and it's going to be upside down. But let's go through the same steps, because to graph it and find these things, we're going to follow the exact same steps. So step 1, to find the x-intercepts. We need to find when each of the factors is equal to 0. Okay, so when is x plus 3 equal to 0? Well, that would be when x is negative 3. So there is our first intercept. Negative 3, 0. Our other intercept is when the other factor is equal to 0. So when is x plus 5 equal to 0? Well, x would have to be negative 5. So negative 5, 0 is our other intercept. Boom, done. Next thing we need, axis of symmetry. Now remember, the axis of symmetry is going to go right down the middle, right between our two intercepts. So it's going to be right like that. Boom. And where is that? That crosses the x-axis at negative 4, and it's a vertical line. So our equation is x equals negative 4. All right. Next step, the vertex. Now, we know the vertex is going to be on this axis of symmetry somewhere. It's probably going to be up here somewhere, because remember, it's upside down. But we know the x-coordinate has to be the same as the axis of symmetry x-coordinate. So it's going to be negative 4 something. The only question is, what is the y-coordinate of our vertex? Well, now we can use our equation. Okay? So y equals negative 2 times, instead of x plus 3, we know x is negative 4, so we're going to use negative 4 plus 3. And times, instead of x plus 5, we're going to do negative 4 plus 5. And whatever all this equals is going to be the y-coordinate of our vertex. Negative 2 times negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. And negative 4 plus 5 is positive 1. And if I multiply this all together, I get positive 2. So that is the y-coordinate of my vertex, positive 2. So now I know where the vertex of my parabola is. It's negative 4, positive 2, right there. That looks good so far. All right, now, last thing, the y-intercept. Now this one's going to be tricky because, well, we know it's going to be an upside down parabola, and you can kind of tell it's already being stretched. So the y-intercept's going to probably be way down on the y-axis. All right, but let's figure out what it is. We know it's on the x-axis, and it's going to be on the y-axis, so we know the x-coordinate's going to be 0 something, but we don't know the y-coordinate. So let's use our equation to find the y-coordinate. We're going to put 0 in for x up there. So y equals -2 times, instead of x plus 3, 0 plus 3, times, instead of x plus 5, 0 plus 5. All right, so let's see what that equals. -2 times 3 times 5, which is going to come out to -30. So that's our y-coordinate. -30. So there's our y-intercept, 0, -30. So as predicted, the y-intercept's going to be, well, it's going to be off the page somewhere. It's going to be way down there at -30. All right. So now we kind of know what our graph's going to look like. It's going to be a parabola. It's going to be down, and it's going to be super steep. Like when it hits that y-intercept, it's going to be way down there. Okay. But like I said before, once you start working with parabolas, you start recognizing patterns. Remember in the previous pattern, we said it goes up 1, up 3, 5, 7, 9. It goes up by odd numbers. This one's going to go down. But instead of going down by odd numbers, because that vertical stretch is 2, it's just going to double. So this is going to go at 2, and then it's going to go by 6, and then it's going to go by 10. It's going to double the distance we usually see. It's going to be something like this, okay? And if you're not sure, you want to find some more points, try plugging some more x values into your equation if you want to find more points, all right? But we found several points, and I think that's a good enough sketch of our parabola, all right? But the main thing is going through these steps, finding your x-intercept, using your axis of symmetry and your equation to find your other information, okay? So hopefully I helped you with this, and this video was helpful. If it was, please hit that like button. Also subscribe because it really helps us out. But with that being said, good luck on your math, and I will see you next time.